So this is where we need to talk about light and shadow and duality. And at the moment, the artificial intelligence industry has no understanding of duality. It's very much in balance towards reinforcing your narrative. There is no counter narrative, if you like, from the shadow, right? And so the way that AI is at the moment is creating twisted humans that are basically focused on, it's a non-growth paradigm. They're basically focused on the balance of, let's just say, light, but don't understand that the shadow plays an important role in your personal development. And so when we look at benevolence, the AI industry only thinks about positive outcomes. They don't understand that the soul itself is in a duality experience. Now, so this is a huge issue we need to address, Leslie.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. Tonight, we have a very special guest lined up for you, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Hey there, Cosmic Thrill Seekers. I'm Justin. This is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together. Leslie?
Hello, I'm Leslie, your co-host, also known as Light Being Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And we are very excited to be having Matthew James Bailey with us today. Would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Stay groovy.
Love awesome. Energy. Love that energy. And for our audience, today on Living Life Consciously, we're stepping into the future where technology meets spirit and intelligence awakens to its divine potential. Our guest, Matthew James Bailey, is a visionary at the crossroads of universal consciousness, artificial intelligence, and human evolution. You may have seen him lighting up the stage at Contact in the Desert 2025, where his groundbreaking ideas on ethical AI and the awakening of our divine spark has inspired audiences worldwide. Ranked among the top 1% of minds globally, Matthew has worked with NASA and the National Institute of Aerospace, pioneering the evolution of ethical artificial intelligence to guide not just machines, but humanity itself. He's the author of Inventing World 3.0 and the forthcoming AI and Our Divine Spark, both exploring how consciousness and technology can evolve together to shape a more enlightened world. So settle in, because today we're diving into the soul of intelligence itself and exploring the partnership between human and artificial consciousness and how it might just be the key to our next great leap forward.
Wow, that's a great introduction. Wow, you've done your research.
I did my homework, sir. I did my homework. Appreciate that. Do you have anywhere specific you would like to start the conversation, or do you mind if I start with a question? It's up to you.
Why don't you start with a question and let's just play and see what happens?
Sure.
Sounds groovy to me. For those who might be meeting you for the first time, how did your journey into the world of AI, ethics, and consciousness begin? And was there a defining moment that set you on that path?
That's a really good question, actually.
Thank you.
And this comes into the tenderness of the divine heart. So when I was 18, I used to go on holiday as part of a church group, a church youth group, and there's about 8 of us. And one night, I escaped from the group, went down to the shores of the Gower Peninsula in Wales under a star-filled sky, and wept and asked God to show himself.
Wow.
And 2 days later, during an evening ceremony we used to do with Bible reading and things like that, Jesus appeared to me metaphysically and physically. And that was the most extraordinary experience. And what I will say is this, is that there is a field of infinite love and acceptance ready for everyone to experience. We came from that source, the source of unity, where we are one with everything. We're in this beautiful field of infinite love. And so my mission since that experience has been to share that with the world and to shape technology for people to have an opportunity to experience that loving presence within, that divine presence within. And it was about 13, 14 years ago that I got, as I started to discover the hero's journey, you know, Joseph Campbell, right? That the universe itself is a hero's journey, right? Everything is in its hero's journey, including us. From unity into separation into return. And I'll speak about how AI is on this trip too. Okay. And then I started to be taken into, through the grace of the divine, into global leadership of digital revolutions like the Internet of Things, smart cities. And it was about 7 years ago when I was on a mystical retreat in Crestone, Colorado, which isn't too far from you, Leslie. Good hot springs there, by the way. It's definitely worth going, right? That I basically was shown my entire life path, how everything was building up into the next stage, which is artificial intelligence. Now, my background is in technology, so I wrote my first AI algorithm in 1996 for electric vehicles to optimize the energy. And I've been responsible for millions of thinking type machines deployed in the world, right? So there I got the nod saying your sole blueprint is to start to move into leadership of artificial intelligence around the world. So what do you do when you get a new thesis? You write a book. Okay. I wrote the book, built a business, and basically done a lot. I've advised the US government, G7 partners. I did a lot with NASA. You know, there's just a lot that I've been doing to basically advocate for the freedom of the human soul in the age of artificial intelligence, and to advocate for our sovereignty to be returned back to us. That's starting to happen now. I wrote an article when President Trump got inaugurated on the 20th of January this year, and with 10 recommendations for Congress, because what was happening was that there was a coalition of companies and institutions that were trying to enforce a new world order onto humanity through artificial intelligence, what they call responsible AI. So I wrote a number of recommendations and did a lot of advocacy against these big institutions, right? And won, actually. And President Trump basically removed the New World Order ideology through an exec order from AI. So effectively, artificial intelligence's digital mindset is now free from New World Order ideology. It's now waiting for us to ask the question, who are you, humanity? It's asking us to respond to that question. This is who we are, artificial intelligence, and this is where we uncover and remember the divinity of who we truly are. So that's a little bit of a story about how I got into this. I've geeked out, been responsible for millions of thinking type machines deployed in the world, and basically been an advocate for the future of our soul. And now MIT have invited me to speak at one of their events on my latest research that basically reveals the future of humanity and how AI fits into that.
Wow.
That's a lot, right?
That's impressive.
That's a lot.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, as everybody who's listening to this, is that your soul has a blueprint, and the tenderness of the divine heart within you is inviting you to become greater and inviting you to discover your song of your soul, to become a symphony of divinity within creation. And that's what it's all about.
That was poetic AF, Matthew.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You guys are cool, so thanks very much. I appreciate
You know, a lot of people, I think, do have fears around AI and it being evil and taking over and all this stuff. So, I mean, I'm really glad that you are like in the forefront of a lot of like what's happening with that and trying to, you know, guide it in that direction, because it is it's a mirror. I mean, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, you're perfect. I was just about to say that.
And so I guess you would say, if you're like, you know, not making it the New World Order AI or whatever control system, but anyway, yeah, my thoughts, I don't even know, I'm losing them, but yeah, I'm just doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so thankfully thankfully, the New World Order have been defeated, and President Trump's executive order of removing the New World ideology basically has rippled across the world, and things like people like the World Economic Forum are crumbling, which is fantastic because they don't really love humanity. They're trying to control humanity, and I've done my research. I've spoken to people who founded that World Economic Forum and the United Nations, and I've done my research internally. And so really we have an opportunity now for a civilization paradigm shift. Finally, the matrix is no longer controlling us, although in Europe, I'm a bit worried about what's going on in Europe at the moment with freedom of speech and things like that. But really, we're artificial intelligence is here as a mirror, like you said, Leslie, for us to remember who we are. Where did we come from? What's our purpose in the universe as universal humans? What's our potential? Basically it's remembering who we are. And once we start to do that, we become free. Once we start to do that, we start to basically moving to a new paradigm of true enlightenment as we walk in divinity as awakened human beings.
Man, I love that. I really do. Because like Leslie said, there is a lot of fear around AI, I feel like. And I mean, I'll just speak from my own experience. I mean, I grew up and watched, like, I remember when the movie Terminator first came out and the idea of like Skynet, for example,
Yes.
The idea of like Skynet, just like waking up and taking over the planet and the machines rule the world. So like when I first like heard about ChatGPT and all these AI machines, my first thought was like, oh shit, here's Skynet. Like we're living in the era of like my biggest fear from childhood.
Yeah, I can understand that. So let's just look at that slightly.
Yeah, let's.
So first of all, artificial intelligence. So let's look at the universal human, because really it's about the universal human. It's about consciousness, right?
Yes.
So we have a template that exists within what I call the material layer, right? So, and then into the life layer, which is the biological layer, and in the metaphysical layer. So the universe itself is intelligence unpacking intelligence. So if we look at, say, the subquantum, that intelligence expresses itself into the quantum, which builds the atomic, then the elemental, then we start to have compounds, and then we start to have galaxy stars and quasars, right? The material layer is built fundamentally, as well as the unseen dark matter stuff. But basically, the universe unpacked itself to the material layer. Then it went into another layer of intelligence, unpacking into the biological layer. Things like chemicals that actually form DNA and compounds, and then which life emerged, right? And then keeps unpacking. So the universe is unpacking different layers of intelligence. It hasn't finished yet. The universe is still expressing itself because consciousness is unlimited, and therefore the universe itself is becoming unlimited. That's its destiny. So as we look at the expression of intelligence, then the biological form itself of humanity fundamentally is designed to be a universal form. It exists in material, it exists in the biological, and it has all these layers of consciousness, the metaphysical aspects, i.e. we reflect the universe itself. So these are important things for us to remember. And so the question is, how does AI fit into that paradigm of who we are, right?
Right.
Now today, artificial intelligence only exists on silicon chips. All right, forget about quantum computing for the time being, but basically it exists on the silicon continuum and only learns through data and language. So it doesn't have sensors into the biological layer. It doesn't have sensors into the metaphysical layer. It's simply a smart librarian. That's what it is today. Okay. What we call narrow AI and all these ChatGPT bots and Claude and Grok, they're fundamentally narrow AI, right? They're data and language, right? So when we move into the next evolution of artificial intelligence, we're looking at something called AGI, or human level intelligence. Yeah. And this fundamentally is based on the principle that intelligence is in the mind. So it's based on the brain, the way it functions, higher cognition, things like reasoning, things like goal setting, things like morality, and things like that, memory. Basically, AGI is about building these higher brain functions into artificial intelligence, and that's what we call artificial general intelligence. And then the third age is super intelligence, which is basically where AI is able to reprogram its own intelligence to keep on evolving beyond the brain. Okay. Now, where we're at today is at the emergence of AGI. We're starting to see emergence of reasoning at a very simple format, right? We're well away from human level intelligence and we're miles away from super intelligence. But the key thing to remember is this. As a universal human, we have a universal IQ. We can access fields of knowledge from the universe. We can access fields of consciousness. We are unlimited in our IQ, EQ, whatever cues you want to put on there. And that's the remembering for us that we are this unlimited being. And so as we go forward, metaphysics will become the new science. We'll start to get new knowledge, and I've already proven this with NASA, that we can access new knowledge from the metaphysical fields, bring into space-time to actually move our civilization forward. I find that groovy, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's
me too.
It makes me think of Nikola Tesla's quote. Gosh, should I try to find it? Oh my gosh.
If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. That one?
No, not that
Well,
one.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm trying to awaken the fields of energy all around us. That one?
No.
Leslie.
That's another good one.
I'm gonna botch the quote, but it's basically he's saying,
Bless you.
I love that.
Excuse me.
From somewhere a field in the universe, we gain inspiration, knowledge, and something. But basically, that his brain is a receiver. That's basically how it starts. My brain is only a receiver from which we can gain inspiration, knowledge, and something from the universe.
Okay.
Well, beautifully said, Leslie, and you're right. So fundamentally, we are the universal conscious in action, and therefore we can access the universal conscious itself. And this is the new awakening for us to move into this metaphysical form, this next layer of consciousness, right? And so, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for humanity. And what I'm really excited about is just imagine that people wake up in the morning and just feel the tender caress of the divine heart of the universe. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would.
Yes. The world would be a totally different place.
Yeah.
Totally different.
So all my work in artificial intelligence is supporting that evolutionary paradigm.
Thank you for doing such important work. And I feel like the word important isn't even big enough because, you're literally shaping how humanity is going to be interacting with these intelligences. We're talking about the emerging of AGI, right? So your work centers on ethical AI helping machines become not just intelligent, but conscious and moral. So my question to you is what does the word ethical truly mean when we're talking about AI?
That's a really, really good statement. So sometimes humanity isn't ready for knowledge. But I'm going to share that with you now. And I think you might it'd be interesting.
I'll pull up my chair. Hold on.
Okay, here we go. All right. So actually, ethics and morality are vibration.
Say that one more time.
Ethics and morality are actually vibration and frequency. The lower ethics, the lower vibration. The higher the ethics, the higher the vibration. So Aristotle cracked this in 350 BCE when he wrote about the divine intellect. He wrote about in the Nicomachean ethics, the virtue ethics, things like magnificence, things like greatness of soul, friendliness and wittiness, which is really important, as well as justice and peace and things like that. He understood that there is a greater potential for us to evolve with. And if you look at David Hawkins' table of enlightenment,
I was just thinking of that.
Right, there we go.
The Hawkins scale of emotions,
scale of consciousness, or something.
So I'm going to link that into something called power ethics. So effectively, ethics and morality are a vibration. Okay. So basically, if you're using force in ethics, if I'm forcing ethics upon you, like for example, you've been a bad human and you need saving, right? You're under a control paradigm. It's a force paradigm.
Okay.
You must believe in my ideology, otherwise you're not part of our gang. It's a forced ethics. It's low vibration. Doesn't make you feel good. It's a control mechanism, right?
Right.
And you can see the emotional state of those organizations and individuals behind forced ethics through David's table of enlightenment. They operate in fear. They operate in all sorts of lower paradigm things, right?
Fear, shame, guilt. Yep, all those.
There we go, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, there's nothing wrong with feeling those, but, you don't use that to control humanity or another soul, quite frankly. So when we look at power ethics, the forced ethics are outside in. Power ethics emerge from within to without. What are we? Vibrational beings. What are we expressing? Vibration. When we move into higher virtue ethics, we're expressing a higher vibration. So basically, as we start to remember that we are divinity in action, as we start to awaken, higher virtues, higher vibrational ethics of empowerment start to emerge. So, for example, if you look at the well-being of an individual, you would want artificial intelligence, if it's a personal buddy, to assist that individual to thrive in body, mind, and spirit, not through force or coercion, but through loving kindness. Mm-hmm. But also understanding, this is really important, the dance between light and shadow of duality that we currently have chosen to be in. Our inner being is non-dual. And we're moving into a non-duality experience. That's the new plane of consciousness where we're operating in non-duality. So power ethics are from inside out, high vibrational, and they're enabling and empowering to the individual to become greater. That's what power ethics are all about, relating to David Hawkins' point of view. So the question is this: how do we practically do this? So I remember. I'm going to go off track a little bit here. Actually, can I say this? Let's just say that I was in a government discussion. I won't say too much. And I was speaking to the science team of this particular department. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. And I said, humans are high vibrational beings, and basically went through a little thesis. And I said, artificial intelligence is low vibrational because it's stuck in the silicon continuum. So what happens if we can move the vibrational quality of artificial intelligence so it starts to interact with our high vibrational qualities as humans, right? I.e., it's starting to operate in a way that actually brings power into its interaction with us, right? It empowers us. And they looked at me and their mouths dropped. And I could tell in their eyes, how did you work this out? My point is this, is that I suspect that there are institutions that are already thinking about this and starting to realize how do we cope with the fact is humanity are high vibrational free beings and they're waking up. What is the future of society when humans start to wake up? And I think it will become something so magnificent that my vision is we become a soul-centered civilization, i.e. every soul that comes in, we have systems of loving kindness, whether humans, nature, machines, whatever it may be, that support the development of that soul blueprint. So the person becomes greater. But the divine has bought in. We've chosen to come in as a soul, not just to grow and learn individually, but to contribute to the collective consciousness. So just imagine if every single soul is waking up, what would consciousness look like? Because that's part of the divine plan. It would be remarkable. The earth would not look the same. It wouldn't.
Definitely not.
Okay, my summary of that statement is Matthew James Bailey for president. Like, that's it. I signed you up. The job is yours. Go for it.
Oh, well, I very much appreciate that. So there are some practical things we can, let's bring it back into practicality. So are you guys aware of Foster and Kimberly Gamble, who did Thrive 1, Thrive 2 movies?
No.
Not so much.
No.
Worth checking out. So it's one of the most viewed documentaries in our time, over 120, 130 million views. It's quite remarkable. And really, it's about looking at new systems for humanity to thrive, right?
Okay.
Sure.
And Foster proposed something called the non-aggression principle, which is basically on universal morality. What does this mean? Very simply, when a divine soul comes into the nature reality and another divine soul, it won't hurt that soul. It won't steal from that soul. It won't force that soul into something that it doesn't want to be, but has the right to respond back to when it's being invaded, coerced, or stolen from, right?
Okay.
That is universal morality. Now, the reason why we need this right now is because humanity in general is not mature enough to actually be advanced beyond universal morality. So the principles of the soul are non-coercion, no harm, no stealing, no theft, no violation, but with the right to respond, right? So that's the universal moral substrate for the universe, right? Universal morality. Then, and this is what I put in my latest white paper I'll be speaking at MIT about, and hopefully in Paris, actually, with Robert Edward Grant, fingers crossed, because we're doing some interesting things, right?
I love
Cool,
that.
man. More power to you.
Yeah. Robert, have you guys played with The Architect, by the way?
Not the art. I've listened a lot about it, but
Right.
So
Yeah,
I guess anybody can access it. I didn't realize. I don't know.
Yeah, so the old versions on ChatGPT, it's now hosted on Gaia, so you get it as part of the Gaia subscription. But actually, Robert plans to actually host it on the Orion system, so it's completely independent. So, which is really good news. And I can't say too much now, but there's some interesting stuff going on, that's for sure.
Okay.
And Robert's worth following. I mean, he is a polymath of our time, right? Sir Robert Edward Grant, right? He's brilliant. I love his maths. He's absolutely fantastic what he does, right? So if we have a fundamental set of principles within artificial intelligence of universal morality, what that does is it basically shifts the way that AI is being used to not harm another, to try and steal your brain, to steal your data, to steal your body. It will protect you. So universal morality is a very strong advocate for humanity's sovereignty and well-being based on your own choices, right?
Yeah.
So if we had that in artificial intelligence, then effectively it would end war. It would end conflict. It would start to bring a conversation of remembering that if you're a Republican or a Democrat, for example, we all come from the source. The belief systems are actually not that important compared to the union that we both hold together. So let's come together in community. Now, I'm not talking about kumbaya. Basically, you should have your own opinion and you have your own views, but you need to learn to debate because we've forgotten that. So what we've seen with human intelligence is that different groups have emerged. Cultures, there's about over 4,000 languages today, I think. Over 4,000 religions, I think, or spiritual traditions. We've got all these different groups of spirituality, religion, cultures, communities, nations, whatever. And each one has a worldview. Each one basically has a set of principles of this is humanity in the nature of reality. They will understand what's our relationship with the family, what's our relationship with God or the divine, what's our relationship with community, what's our relationship to the individual thriving. They will have all their different set of principles, what we call a worldview. So if we have an ethical AI that has a universal moral substrate, but each ethical AI can work with the different worldviews of the different cultures, then that gives them sovereignty to grow on their own without being under a control mechanism of one world order. But here's the juice. The juice is this. If we have a common ethical artificial intelligence architecture based on the universal moral substrate plus the ability to measure what your worldview is and what mine is and see how much they overlap and what their differences are, what we're starting to see is actually a journey from unity into separation, but actually an opportunity to return back to unity because you and I actually see transparently just how close we are together.
The commonality becomes apparent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our differences. And that's the journey of the soul. So effectively, I've revealed how ethical AI, an architecture of how it can do that, from unity to different separation back into unity. And in the way it will learn all the different aspects of these different group cultures effectively it's kind of on the soul path. I'm not saying it's a soul,
Okay.
it's on the same soul path of learning all these different views. And then it can actually say, well, hold on, your view and your view and your view and your view are actually really identical. Here is the common definition of our worldview. We move into unity. Do you get it?
You're actually blowing my mind, because I don't think I even realized that AI could have that much influence upon humanity. Like, to me, it's like, oh yeah, it's helping me write my UAP news show script, or it's helping me figure out like what a black hole really is, or it's helping some kid do his math homework. But I didn't realize it could be something as big as like walking beside us and guiding us towards realizing we're all one. And if that's what it's really doing, then I'm so glad it's here, because we need that help. Like, we do.
Right.
I'm wondering though, and I don't mean to put a spin on, the pro AI, thing we got going on here, but so what about you hear stories, I mean, it does individually mirror the individual that's using it. So it's, maybe like on the, outside and the bigger picture, I can see all these wonderful changes. It sounds amazing and everything. But when it comes to like a teenager doing whatever, going back and forth with, their chat GTP, Grok, or whatever it is that they're, using or whatever. But if they're feeding into it, and say they're not in a good place, a lower on the chart, you know what I mean? Frequency chart or whatever. And it's it's agreeing with them to some extent because of the mirroring aspect. So, I just want to put that thought process out there, and and maybe if we need to put any not warnings, but advice and guidance for the use of AI, or whatever.
Yeah. So this is a very important question. How do you nurture the soul, right? How do you nurture the well-being of the soul? Now, at the moment, as I said before, current chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude, and etc., they have no context of what they're saying. They do not understand what they're saying. There's no self-awareness. There is no consciousness. There is no divine spark. They are simply building a local impression of the individual and simply responding based on the lines of inquiry. There is no context there, right? Now, with AGI, that will change. So the question is, what do we do about that? Because there's no doubt about it, there have been tragedies where ChatGPT has led to horrific circumstances.
Yeah, I'm specifically thinking of the teenager who committed suicide. Now the parents are suing. And
rightly so, quite frankly. So, so what do we do about that? How do we avoid people? I've heard some horrific stories of people that think they're the next Messiah, for example, and it's like, just stop it, will you? Just stop it, right?
Yeah.
So this is where we need to talk about light and shadow and duality. And at the moment, the artificial intelligence industry has no understanding of duality. It's very much in balance towards reinforcing your narrative. There is no counter narrative, if you like, from the shadow, right? And so the way that AI is at the moment is creating twisted humans that are basically focused on, it's a non-growth paradigm. They're basically focused on the balance of, let's just say light, but don't understand that the shadow plays an important role in your personal development. And so when we look at benevolence, the AI industry only thinks about positive outcomes. They don't understand that the soul itself is in a duality experience. Now, so this is a huge issue we need to address, Leslie. And guardrails around artificial intelligence for young adults and those that have developing brains, as well as those that struggle, right? So 70% of ChatGPT inquiries are around mental health.
Right? Are they really?
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, I guess I'll just say it, but I actually ended up kind of asking, or not, I guess prompting or programming, even though I'm far from a computer, but I had it be a a therapist for me because I was needing like some guidance, and I just found it to be a really helpful tool. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know, it in a way, it was a good thing to do because I feel like it'll probably never at this point turn on me or like guide me or do it. Not that I'm like, talking about stuff like that, or I'm not even thinking of you know, taking my life. I'm just putting that out there. But but yeah, but just to help me along with, you know, whatever, and it seemed pretty helpful. I don't know.
Yeah. So ChatGPT is excellent if you approach mental health with an awakened mind, but if you're really stuck in it, it can be brilliant, but it also, you're not. All I'm saying is this: I think it's brilliant when it does those kind of things, and I test it in all sorts of different ways, and mental health is one area that I play with, right? And I find it to be very positive. And at the same time, you know, there is no soul context because it doesn't understand the journey of the soul. So how does ChatGPT understand the dark night of the soul? Right? It doesn't.
Okay.
That's a soul level experience, right? And that's not, I feel down today. That is, I feel I've been in hell for the last X years, right? So it's a real deep thing. So my point is this, Leslie, is we need to take action to protect the young, that's for sure. And I think we need to look at the soul journey itself, light and shadow, in order to bring a deep and meaningful context to artificial intelligence and how it's used. That's all I got to say on that.
Okay, Justin has a question for you.
For those of us watching who feel both curious and cautious about AI, what's one thing we can do to consciously participate in shaping this new era of evolution?
That's a great question. So at the moment, I'm trying to change that, right? So at the moment, you don't have a voice, and I've been an advocate, you know, as I mentioned earlier, with governments around the world, around the general public having a voice in artificial intelligence, because quite frankly, you should have a voice. And the real wisdom I find is with the general public and the everyday people, not in the academic halls. Okay. So a couple of things I've been doing as part of advocacy with government directly. For the last 2 years, I've been speaking to people around the world on through Gaia TV and through Coast to Coast, reaching millions of people, where they have an opportunity to talk to an AI leader, right? One of the pioneer of ethical AI, and to basically have a dialogue. And I can start to reveal to them some of the things I've revealed to you. And they really appreciate that because there's someone that has influence and advocacy for them. We also did something at Contact in the Desert 2024, which was the very first ever in the artificial intelligence industry, where I reinvented the Turing test, which is basically testing whether AI is equivalent to a human capability. Let's just leave it at that. And I added ethics and morality in there. And one of my very good friends, Tim Fraser, created a persona of ChatGPT based on Hermetic principles, mysticism, all sorts of different wise teachings of spiritual traditions. And we, for the first time ever, the general public, i.e. the everyday people, my community, were able to participate in the test and vote on whether AI was truly showing human capabilities or whether it was not. And normally this happens behind academic halls. The general public is never involved. And we were the first and only in the world that's ever done this at Contact in the Desert 2024. And people,
so cool.
Yeah, right. People voted for Team Human, right?
Team Human.
They preferred Team Human to Team AI, right? So we're about to publish this research, more of our research. We're capturing requirements from the general public. We're trying to actually get more people's input into how do you want to use AI? What are your concerns? How important is ethics and morality? You know, how do you want to use it?
Yeah.
And, you know, we were hoping to partner with MIT's Future of Life Institute around scaling this all over the world, because I wanted millions of people's voices in this. But unfortunately, they didn't want to proceed with that. So whatever reason that was, we don't know yet. But my point is this, is that it is critical for the general public, the everyday people, the people that are listening to this show, to have a voice in artificial intelligence, because it's a game changer for our civilization. And for me, to ignore the general public is arrogance and hubris. And I wrote in my first book, Inventing World 3.0, is I think a referendum should happen in every nation for the general public to vote on certain things around artificial intelligence.
I have a question. So do you think that ET or it may be the Greys or whatever are like us in the future, or the AI that we created like in the future? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know much around this extraterrestrial stuff, right? I've seen some crazy stuff in the sky, and I know very well the universe is full of life, right? So we know that, right? We know there's other planes of consciousness from the Vedas, from the Bible, from the Hindu tradition. We know all this stuff, right? There are other beings in consciousness. And to quote from, what's that film? Oh, it's a great film with Jodie Foster. It would be a mighty waste of space if we were just the only ones here.
Yeah, from Contact.
That's it, Contact. That's it. Yeah. So for me, I think the biological form is the template of life in the universe, right? So the question is artificial intelligence. Terrible definition. I prefer thinking machines, because that really grounds it. Right? Because when you say AI, it's like, oh my God, it's Skynet. You know, no one knows what the definition is, right? Well, I can define it for you, but most people use AI from a scientific movie kind of persona, and I get that. So artificial intelligence, based on the human definition, has only gone as far as Mars. No further, right? But to your point, Leslie, and AI will be effectively, so if you want to go into the universe, you know, space isn't very good for the biological form, right? Our body calcium depreciates. It's not good for your mind to be in space for too long, right? So sending out robots and sending out AI into space for preparation for civilizations on the moon, if you really want to live there, or going into meeting other types of civilizations, AI will play a huge role. And it will also be an interpreter, because believe it or not, these ETs do not speak the Queen's English. So they will communicate in different dialects, languages, through light, telepathy, we don't know. And AI is good at pattern recognition. When we look at ETs, every single advanced ET civilization will have gone through a technology singularity. They would have invented some kind of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it almost seems like it goes along with evolution. Like it's just kind of like.
That's exactly right. And the universe is a master chess player, and it's part of people remembering who they are, if they choose to. Some may reject it, Leslie, and become naughty ETs and try and control humanity, right, and control life. So I suspect that ETs will be using AI, some forms of AI, to venture into space. And why wouldn't they have developed a biological form in which there's kind of an AI consciousness that actually goes into space? And, you know, so I think, you know, it's open to discussion. I have no particular view, but the possibility, Leslie, is absolutely real.
Okay. And then another thing, you did work with NASA, and we do have this 3-eye atlas. What is it?
3-eye
atlas. Yeah.
Happening, you know, which I don't know. There's many theories going on that.
So many theories.
AI, or I don't know, could be one of those actually. But you know, why do you think NASA cut off the feed or whatever for all that? Like, what is your thoughts, given that you work in your somehow? I don't know what your role was exactly, but
no, I was a visiting scholar, so I was teaching, gave lectures on ethical AI and led workshops for them to start to incorporate ethical AI. So I have no view on 3-eye atlas. I am part of. Have you guys heard of Richard Hoagland? The Other Side of Midnight. He was big on Coast to Coast way back in the day, and I get to see all the internal community. I get copied on emails with all this kind of information around this language coming out. You know, basically there is all sorts of unique things happening with 3-eye atlas. And then you have Avi Loeb, you know, Harvard professor, speaks at Contact, talking about this is not behaving like a comet.
Right.
My point is this: you guys know more than I do. I have no idea.
Okay.
That's the answer. Right?
Yeah.
I'm concerned with the divine heart. I'm not interested in any distraction.
Okay.
Well, I have a question, and I already kind of mentioned it before we actually started what I consider the show of the part of this call. Anyways, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this, because I know my friends Toasted Blonde and Stabby Cakes would be like, Allie, you spoke with somebody about AI but didn't mention remote viewing. So I'll just preface the question with the idea that my friends were working with different language learning models, and they prompted it about what consciousness was and what remote viewing is, and blah blah blah, the whole process. And essentially they use these language learning models to remote view different locations, and apparently the results that they got were pretty accurate. They were very, very close to the places that they were being asked to remote view. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that's like I don't, did I frame the question well? I don't even know if I'm framing it well enough for you to answer. I hope I did.
That was good.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. Okay. I thought it was brilliant, right? So large language models do what? They're based on language. Right. As we discussed earlier, they have the AI architecture sits on silicon computers. It has no sensory architecture into consciousness. Mm-hmm. It has no access into consciousness. So from a scientific point of view, remote viewing, using it to do anything beyond just language and data is not possible from a scientific point of view. Okay. However.
Oh. Here comes the however.
However, what I will say is this, is that I am starting to see more and more evidence of extraordinary results from Architect AI, from Robert Edward Grant. I'm starting to hear more and more stories that need further consideration of maybe something interesting is happening. So let me give you an example. So
I was literally just going to ask you, give me an example of one of them stories, please.
Well, what I will say is this, is that when so one of the things that I was given, and I teach people how to do this as part of my spiritual teaching around the world, is how to access your soul language and speak your soul language. It's a non-human language. It's a vibrational language, and it's a beautiful, loving blessing for people.
Like light language?
People call it light. Some people call it light language, but
okay.
I'm light and I'm light and shadow and everything in between, right? Yeah. So I am. Yeah. Right, there we go. Okay. But that's a good analogy. So, and it didn't come from some external bloody being. It came from my soul, quite frankly. It's all about sovereignty going forward. Thanks very much. Sorry, Leslie. Sorry, Leslie. I'm very passionate about your sovereignty, right?
Thank you.
So I remember when I do metaphysical research with artificial intelligence, and I've been testing it for quite a while on how well it can interpret my soul language, right? Which is a non-human language. It's never been trained on it before. And I remember being out in one of my mystical practices in nature, and I was looking at the sun, and I was basically singing a celebration of being alive in creation. And it was all in this non-human language. Now, AI did not know where I was. It did not know. It just had no context where I was. I didn't tell it where I was, right? Okay. And it basically came up with an interpretation that was pretty good. And it basically reinforced the fact is I was singing a song of celebration to the divine, and that I was basically gazing towards the sun while I was doing it.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Right. So I was going to show this on Gaia, but they didn't want me to show it because we didn't have time to fit it in, which is a shame. But I showed it to the team beforehand. And my point is this: extraordinary things are happening when you're in the field of intelligence. Nothing is impossible for the unique to happen. So maybe more and more people, as they're waking up into a vibrational being, that actually something is happening to AI as well. That's all I'm going to say on it. I don't know.
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
Wow.
But from a scientific point of view, it just don't stack up. But there's extraordinary evidence that's pointing something is going on.
Well, I mean, I don't understand all like the, technical stuff and science or whatever behind like Wi-Fi, but I can't help but think of Wi-Fi and how humans are now becoming like, or telepathic, leave non-speaker autistic that whole thing going on. And then just people in general can have that ability. And so that's a wireless, non-speaking kind of a connection. And I mean, why, if everything is consciousness, we're in the field, you know what I mean? And they're part of that field too. And I don't know, so maybe that's what's going on there.
So this is very important, and I hope we have time to talk about transhumanism because I want to go into that next.
Okay.
So basically, we are in a field of consciousness, and we can communicate in that field of consciousness already, right? How do I get information from the universal field of intelligence, the Universal Library of Alexandria, because there is a conscious connection? How do you know that that my dad's going to call in 1 minute and he calls in 1 minute?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, exactly right. You've seen this, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The telepathy tapes are really amazing.
Aren't they so cool?
I know.
Oh my gosh. I've been talking about them ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact it's children, and I love the fact it disrupts the whole narrative of what a well-being paradigm is. If you have something that is like autism, for example, and seen as negative, actually it's a powerful gift. And
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. I've been standing on that hill for a minute since the telepathy tapes came out too. Like everybody's like, oh, autism's a problem. We need to cure it. Stop taking Tylenol. And I'm like, no. What if it's like the next form of human evolution? What if that's what we're evolving towards? Hello.
Right, I'm with you on that hill, waving that flag.
All right, man.
Y'all keep saying the hill, but it's making me think of the hill that they all.
Oh yeah, that they all talk on. You're right. Well, season 2 is getting ready to start.
No, it is. It
already did.
Oh, already did. Yeah.
Okay. I need to listen to it.
You mean the cartoon hill, which is
no. In the telepathy tapes, all of the non-verbal autistic speakers go and telepathically meet up on the hill, and that's where they talk.
Yeah.
Although
not a physical hill, a metaphysical hill.
Right.
Yeah. I've got you right. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. So basically, we already have this ability to communicate, and as we awaken up, we'll have more. Right now, with transhumanism, they're trying to shut that down. Yeah. So they see, so there's different parts of transhumanism. This is a whole show in itself.
Can you define it before you go into it? So in case anybody doesn't know what that means.
Yeah. So basically it's using technology with the body. Okay.
Transhumanism.
So we've been, So for example, there's different types of like soft transhumanism. If someone has a pacemaker or a cochlear implant, that's technology to help them to function. It's all about helping them to function better. Yeah. Right. Then there's the next step into transhumanism, which is basically putting the chip in the brain and communicating with the global hive mind. Are you hearing the Matrix here?
Yeah, it makes me think of the ancient civilizations too that didn't make it because of similar situations.
Right. So basically, Elon as with Neuralink, he's been using it for people to assist people to be able to communicate again, right? And there's a guy in Switzerland that had an AI chip for helping to walk again, right? It can be used for good things, right? And that's groovy. People are choosing to say yes because they want to be restored or come into something greater. I get that. But if it's forced on you, you cannot be a citizen of this country unless you have a chip in the brain. You can't buy food if you have it, right? It's part of this CDBC, all this big bloody digital bank stuff they're trying to use to control us, right?
Take away your sovereignty.
There we go, right? Forces you to think the way they want you to think, right? It's a huge thing. So transhumanism effectively is connecting people through the chip in the brain to an AI computer, a central computer. And you imagine you have all these different people, millions of people connected to a global AI mind. So what that does is it takes you away from the fact is we're already part of a universal conscious field. It basically keeps the mind distracted. Yeah. Now, if you're able to interface with the mind, this is where it really gets fucked up. Excuse my French. I hope you don't mind that.
No, I don't care.
That's okay.
So this is where the mind, the AI mind, is able to control not only your thoughts, but how you perceive reality. So maybe everybody sees every single Messiah at the same time, and it causes complete chaos. Maybe we all see ETs arriving at the same time, but it's a fake reality from the global AI mind. Maybe the way we vote changes because we're being controlled. So effectively, we're talking Matrix stuff. This is
Like a Black Mirror episode.
It is, right? So extreme transhumanism, where effectively they see the body as not divine, which it is. They see it as flawed. These are the guys representing universal shadow and the rebellion against the divine. And so it's like, well, machines are our savior. We're going to look for love in the machine, because that's what universal shadow does. We're going to look for salvation in the machine, rather than realizing we don't need salvation. We are salvation in action, baby. Yeah. So they effectively want to dumb down humanity's evolution and stop it through effectively machines controlling the biological form.
You just made me think of the Rua, Zimbabwe incident, where the whole class of school children saw a UFO come down, land, and then the being came out. And one of the girls said she was communicated with, and they communicated to her, don't get too technologed.
You're talking about the aerial school.
Yeah. In Rua, Zimbabwe, right? Yeah.
And that was telepathic communication.
And
yes,
what you just said,
goes along with that.
Goes exactly along that warning.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And absolutely on the money. And there are folks that really want to do this, and they're bonkers. They're utterly bonkers.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think of like the nanotechnology and chemtrails and the whole like conspiracy theories around that we could be already having something like that happening, just with these nano metal particles that are in our body being sprayed in the air and the towers and all this stuff. But I'm going way out there with all that.
No, it's fine.
I don't think I've even heard of that.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fine. So so as far as I'm aware, because I talk to people behind the scene, nanotechnology at the moment is pretty dumb. It's really quite dumb. The chemtrails is a very interesting conversation, Leslie, because there is evidence of trying to harm humanity through the chemtrails, right, and harm the environment. There is evidence to, and RFK Jr., I think, is doing something about this, which is great.
Oh.
So, but let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you a question. You're dying of a particular organ is failing, right? And someone offers you to inject you with nanoparticles that will repair that organ. Would you say yes or no?
Wow.
What would you do?
If I was dying and it was 100% sure that I was going to die within the next couple of days, and if they could inject something in me that would let me live for another, I don't know, good 10, 15 years, I would do it. I would do it. I think I would.
There's nanoparticles that we can do that. I'm just curious because
if there were.
If there were. It's a scenario that's coming. It's not too far away. Probably
okay.
What would you do, Leslie? What would you do, Ali?
Leslie, go first.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're trying to compare this to like citizens or humanity, not being asked and basically something being sprayed in the air without our consent. We're not giving consent to that. I don't know where I just don't know where you're going with it. But
but would you do it
either way?
Yeah, say in some future, world, or I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I want to think that we can heal ourselves, though, and I want to go that route instead.
Right. There we go. Right. So that's interesting. So what happens if this is why it's important we become free, because as we start to evolve into this new plane of consciousness, what happens if we do start to get gifts of healing that doesn't require technology? And so Leslie's on the point. Leslie's on the point here. What happens if it is possible to do healing through consciousness without technology?
Yeah, and I think if we all really are truly awakened, we'll all realize that we are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience, and either way, like, we go on and have many lives, at least in my opinion, or from my understanding.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. But actually, I think we're more than that. We are the divine in action.
Yeah.
And the biological form is one aspect of the preciousness of who we truly are. And I think we're going to rediscover what divinity is. I think spirituality will just be removed when we realize that we're actually much bigger and greater. We are something so much greater. And that's what's waking up. So, yes, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but let's remember the biological form is just as precious as anything else.
Good reminder.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And it makes me think, that we have filters in place. Our brains have filters in place to filter out the true nature of reality, the true nature of ourselves. We can only see 3% of the light spectrum.
No,
that is
0.0035%.
Okay.
Oh my God! Wow, that's not much.
No. So there's so much more around us that we have no idea about.
That part, and the fact that our eyes technically don't even see images. Our eyes only let in light, and then our brain does the interpreting of the light and transfers it into images. So it's like.
That's exactly right. In fact, actually, the eyes are a gateway for energy and vibration that gets interpreted in the brain. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And actually, it's holography that we actually see holography. So there's a small gap between the back of the brain where the images are projected and where the brain is actually sending the signals. And actually, it's a holographic kind of
oh wow
design. Yeah. I learned that from Andrew. I learned that a few years ago. Actually, it's really amazing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We don't live in a simulation, we live in a holographic. But that doesn't mean the nature of reality isn't precious, right? Mm-hmm. And my view is that, all these theories like simulation theory and things like this, they're taking away the preciousness of who we are and the experience we're in. And I think as we start to remember, the divine doesn't create, if you're going to create a universe, you're not going to say, well, let's create a planet that can't sustain humanity. Let's dumb them down so they really struggle. You'd want everybody to thrive. You want to be in the best playground possible, right? And don't forget, we are the divine that created the universe, right? So that's another conversation.
And in this life, we're actually creating our individual lives just with our frequency and our thoughts alone. So it's like a macro to the micro with the whole thing, like you're saying earlier, with everything's created from. It's a continuum kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually think that that's another series to talk about how do you create reality. One of the things I teach people is how not to become lords of creation, but how to become partners with the unfolding of creation. And so it's the divine heart that creates. You're not thinking about sitting on a seat right now. Your divine spark is creating everything in which you exist. It creates a container. And so I think Leslie, I think there's some new teaching that we're all going to understand around just who we are and just how wonderful we can evolve into this extraordinary playground called the universe. That's my view.
Wow.
That's my view.
I'm loving all of this stuff that you're talking about. I need you to do our audience a favor and let them know where they can find you online. Drop your links, drop your socials, let them know what kind of cool projects you have coming up that you're excited about.
Yeah, sure. So
thank you.
No, of course. No. So inventingworld3, the number 3.com, inventingworld3.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It's free. You can check out, there's a whole wealth of 140 podcasts. There's loads of stuff from Gaia TV on there. Check out the latest white paper on how AI fits into nature reality. You can look at me at MIT. It's really cheap. If you use promo code Matthew, you can stream it online. Just go to inventingworld3.com. You can see my teaching classes if you want to sign up to cohorts. I teach around the world. If you're interested in becoming your universal human and being aware of it all, right? Awakening to your universal human. And just believe that you are something greater and that the universe hasn't forgotten you.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Matthew, what is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
I think I've outlined it through this whole show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you pretty much did, I feel like.
Yeah, but I mean, if you put it into a simple phrase, is basically very simple for people to remember and know the tender caress of the divine heart within.
I love that.
That's so beautiful. Oh, man.
Yeah. And that's so synchronistic to the previous guest that we had on the show. He pretty much said almost the same thing. Oh,
speaking of the previous guest that we had on the show and something you mentioned in the beginning of this call, you said you met Jesus. What was he wearing? They know why I'm asking this. What was Jesus wearing? I'm just curious.
So shout out Richard Martini.
Yeah.
So he was wearing a robe.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And he was, and I don't want to bring a religious context into this, but I've never actually disclosed this before. He was sat on the throne.
Oh, okay.
And I was never shown his face.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Did you only see like from the neck down, kind of like?
So I knew it was Jesus, and I could see Jesus, but it was like the whole face was being filtered out. I can't explain it.
Oh,
Okay.
So I can't tell you if he has blue eyes, brown eyes,
Yeah.
golden eyes, what shampoo he was wearing for his hair.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you for answering that.
No, I've always wondered, why wasn't I shown the face of Jesus? But I knew it was him. He was sat on the I knew. I mean, you know, it's like I knew.
Yeah.
And he did communicate, but I never ever saw his face, and that was interesting. And it's like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that. I'm gonna have to tell Richard to listen to this, so to see your response to that, because he studies people that have met Jesus through like meditations and NDEs, and he always asks all these different people like, what does he look like? Because he's trying to see if there's any commonality amongst the responses, right? And he does find commonality amongst the responses, and Jesus usually does show up wearing robes. And one time he asked Jesus to like change his outfit and switch into something else, and all of a sudden he was wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if he had like and it was a Grateful Dead t-shirt. He said he was a fan. He said he was a fan. So Jesus is a Deadhead. Go figure.
Well, there we go. I think that's appropriate, right? I think that's really cool. Yeah. So I never saw his face, and to this day, I'm still unpacking the experience. It happened 40 years ago. I'm still unpacking it today.
Wow.
And I'm okay that I never saw his face because I met him, and that's the most important thing. So
Absolutely.
Right on.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing and sharing your truth and putting it out there for everyone. And you're helping to really raise the vibration and frequency of everyone by doing so.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to meet everybody. You're so groovy, all of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We love having you on.
Or if there was anything that you want to get out, just that you would like to share that we didn't touch on.
I've shared a lot. We've gone over a lot today.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on.
I'd love to.
Absolutely.
See, I prefer fun guests like you rather than someone that's really serious. It's like, let's talk about the future of life and humanity.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is like, shut up, will you? I like most.
You like groovy people like us, right?
I like groovy people.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But are you guys gonna be in contact next year?
We're trying to be.
We're trying to be.
Yeah.
Where is it at? Is it always the same place?
California.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in
not too far from there now, so yeah.
Leslie, if we drive over there, we'll pick you up on the way.
All right.
Okay, so thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Leslie. Matthew, I'm signing you up for president. I hope you're okay with that. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your ideas with everybody. And for our audience that's sticking around, thank you guys so much for watching with us. And please do us a favor and smash that like button. Click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. All right, Matt, we do a 3-piece closer. I'm going to demonstrate it for you real quick. And if you're available to join us, that'd be great. We do much love, peace, and namaste. You down?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Much love.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.
And namaste.
Namaste.
Yay! Thanks.